You hand your friend money across a table. He takes it. That is the moment the relationship restructures. Not later, not at repayment. Right there. One of you is now above the line. The other is below it. Neither of you chose that. The debt created it automatically. Watch what happens next. His tone adjusts. His disagreements get quieter. He stops pushing back the way he used to. He laughs a little faster at things you say. You start noticing it without naming it. You become slightly more comfortable holding your opinion. He becomes slightly less comfortable holding his. This is not personality. This is position. The nervous system recognizes a financial imbalance before the brain admits one exists. And once both bodies understand who is owed and who owes, the relationship cannot recalibrate back to where it started. Not fully, not even after the money is returned. The Friday repayment happens exactly as agreed. He transfers the money, you confirm it. Both of you say everything is fine, but the conversation that follows is different from every conversation before it. He is more careful with his words, you are more comfortable with yours. Neither of you planned that. The repayment closed the financial transaction. It did not close the structural one. That closed the moment the money moved. What most people miss is that lending is never just a transfer of funds. It is a transfer of signal. The signal moves through the room before either person speaks. It lands in the body first. The borrower's nervous system registers the imbalance immediately. It begins recalibrating behavior to match the new position. Tone adjusts, requests shrink, disagreements soften. The lender's nervous system registers it too. Comfort increases slightly, certainty increases slightly. The lender begins occupying more space without trying to. This does not require bad intentions from either person. It does not require awareness. Financial pressure is a signal the body reads automatically. It has always worked this way. When one person holds a debt and another holds a claim, the room reorganizes around that fact. Every interaction afterward passes through that filter. The question is never whether the signal was sent. The question is whether either person is willing to admit they received it. This recalibration did not begin with the loan. It began much earlier. Most people learned what money meant inside their first relationships before they could name it. They watched who asked and who provided. They watched who waited and who decided. They watched which parent's silence carried more weight after a financial disagreement. They filed all of it, not as memory, as instruction. By the time they were old enough to lend or borrow, the nervous system already had a framework for what each position meant. Lending meant authority. Borrowing meant exposure. Those assignments were not chosen, they were absorbed. So when the money moves between two adults, it does not land in a neutral space, it lands in a space already organized by everything both people learned about what it means to need and what it means to provide. The borrower does not just feel the weight of the debt, they feel the weight of every time they watched someone else carry that position. The lender does not just feel the comfort of being owed, they feel the familiarity of a role they were conditioned to recognize as safe. Neither person is reacting to the loan. Both people are reacting to the map they built before the loan ever existed. And that map does not update at repayment. It updates slowly, if it updates at all. The body does not process debt as a financial fact. It processes it as a threat assessment. The borrower system is now tracking someone, not consciously, automatically. It monitors the lender's mood. It reads tone shifts faster than before. It notices when the lender seems distant or distracted. It begins preparing responses before conversations happen. This is not anxiety in the clinical sense. This is survival logic. The nervous system identified a person who holds leverage over its safety. It responds the way it was built to respond, by staying alert, by staying agreeable, by reducing friction wherever possible. The lender system runs a parallel process. It registers that someone in the environment is now oriented towards it. That orientation feels like deference. Deference feels like authority. Authority feels like safety. The lender does not decide to take up more space. The system expands into the space the borrower vacates. Both processes run without permission. Both processes run without awareness. The relationship does not feel dramatically different. It feels slightly off, slightly tilted, like a table where one leg is shorter than the others. You can still eat at it, you just adjust without realizing you're adjusting. And the longer the tilt remains, the more the adjustment feels like the normal position. Here is where it becomes harder to see. Both people want the relationship to feel equal. That want is genuine. The borrower does not want to feel beneath the person they called a friend. The lender does not want to feel like they hold something over someone they care about. So both people perform equality. They laugh at the same things, they split the next bill deliberately, they reference the loan casually to prove it means nothing. But the performance reveals the pressure. You do not perform something that is already true. You perform something that needs to appear true. And underneath the performance, both identities are running a conflict. The borrower's identity was built on a certain kind of standing in this relationship. That standing felt earned. Now it feels conditional. The borrower begins doing quiet work to reclaim it. More effort in conversations, more initiative in planning, more visible generosity in small moments. Not because they are calculating, because the identity does not accept the new position. It pushes back against it instinctively. The lender runs the opposite conflict. Their identity did not ask for authority, but the body accepted it. Now the lender feels a low pull toward protecting that position, not aggressively, subtly, through the slight comfort of being the one who helped, through the quiet assumption that their opinion carries slightly more weight. The friendship looks intact from the outside. From the inside, both people are negotiating a hierarchy neither of them agreed to enter. The hierarchy expresses itself through specific moments, not dramatic ones, small ones. The borrower disagrees less frequently. When they do disagree, they soften it faster. They add qualifiers they never used before. They check the lender's reaction before finishing a thought. They become more available, more responsive. They cancel plans less. They accommodate more. None of this is discussed. None of it is requested. It simply begins happening because the position demands it. The lender starts noticing the accommodation without naming it. Requests feel easier to make. Opinions feel easier to hold. When a conflict arises, the lender expects resolution to come from the other side first. When it does not come fast enough, there is a low irritation that did not exist before. That irritation is not about the conflict. It's about a position that is no longer being confirmed. The mechanism runs deeper in longer relationships. A friendship of 5 years absorbs the loan into its entire history. Every memory gets quietly re-examined through the new lens. Moments of past equality start feeling like they belonged to a different version of the friendship. The borrower begins wondering which parts of the friendship were always slightly tilted, and they simply never noticed. The lender begins wondering why certain conversations feel more effortful than they used to. Both people are now maintaining a relationship and managing a structure. The structure was never agreed upon. It arrived with the money, and it stayed. The narrowing happens gradually, then all at once. The borrower's range of acceptable behavior shrinks without a single conversation about it. They become the one who adjusts, always. They become the one who absorbs tension, always. They become the one to repair the silence first, always. Each time they do it, the pattern reinforces itself. The nervous system files it as the correct response for this relationship. Over time, the borrower stops noticing they are narrowing. The accommodation no longer feels like accommodation. It feels like who they are in this friendship. The lender's range expands in the opposite direction. Opinions land with more certainty. Boundaries hold with less explanation. Silences are allowed to stretch longer without discomfort. The lender does not feel powerful. They feel normal. That is the most precise description of what structural hierarchy does to the person on top. It makes their expanded position feel like the default, like it was always this way. Both people are now operating inside a relationship that has fundamentally reorganized around a single financial event. The original friendship still exists in reference, in photographs and shared history, but the living version of it runs on different rules now. Rules that were never written, rules that were never discussed, rules that arrived the moment one person handed money to another across a table, and both bodies understood immediately what that meant. The friendship did not end, it contracted, and contracted things do not return to their original shape simply because both people wish they would.